Hello, Master Numerologist Andre Alvin Moore, and it's been 3 years, and the war between Russia and Ukraine is still going on. Unbelievable. But let us pray that this war comes to an end sooner than later. Okay, thank you. Today's lesson is called Paul Leonard Newman. He was an actor that made his transition in 2008. The name Paul contains 4 letters. This surrounds him, a need for structure and discipline. His first earth tone, the letter P, vibrates on the 7th level because the letter P is the 16th letter reduced to the number 7, offering us our first vital piece of information about his personality and his character. The second vital piece of information is the first vowel. The letter A carries the 1 vibration, a desire for leadership and excellence. These 2 pieces of information grant us open windows into Paul's direction, but with a new vibration, which is number 8, which is a combination of the 7 and the 1. Number 8, like the number 1, lends itself to the outer world of fame and independence. The number pattern for Paul is 7133. If you would observe that there are 2 threes that makes the 33 reduced down to the number 6. The 3 energy rules expression, and the number 6 indicates an individual that has a social consciousness. Paul's soul urge is derived from adding his vowels, which are A and U. They correspond to the numbers 1 and 3 because U is the 21st letter and A is the first, revealing a strong desire for law and order, the number 4, the same as the structure surrounding him. Now, Paul's dream is derived from the consonants of the letters P and L, which corresponds to the numbers 7 and 3. They combine to reveal a dream of independence, which is the number 1. This dream is reinforced by his need for independence, which was contained in his first vow, which was the A, which vibrated on the first level, the number 1. Now, Paul expressed himself as a free individual, and the number 5 is derived by adding all of the numbers that make up his first name, which is Paul, and the number pattern is 7133, reduced to the number 14, and 1 plus 4 equals 5. Now, the number 5 played a very important role in Paul's life, but I think the vibration was more on the negative side, the more challenging aspect of it. And it's not really profound in this particular reading, but I'm going to share some additional information with you later on when I go to the whiteboard to highlight how this number 5 was working kind of detrimental to Paul Newman. The 5 energy rules a very strong need for freedom, but it's also one of its aspects is a speed and a venture, and it also enjoys the more pleasurable things about life. So Paul Newman, he died of lung cancer, but he was a heavy smoker and also a heavy drinker. And so that 5 energy pulled him in the direction of drinking and smoking, but also he was a very successful race car driver where he has won over 4 championships himself. And then he and a friend of his also started a racing team where they was able to win over 107 championships. So the 5 energy, how he expressed himself was through unfortunately, the heavy smoker and drinking, but also through his ability um, to race cars, a very successful race car driver. Now, Paul Leonard Newman was born January the 26th, 1925, a 1 month, an eighth day, and a eighth third birth cycle. So January is a 1 because it's the first month of the year. He's born on the 26th. 2 plus 6 equals 8. So he vibrates on the eighth level. And his birth year, when added together, 1925, give us the compound number of 17 reduced down to the number 8. Now, so our portrait is revealing a personality with a very strong desire and a very strong need for independence. Let's review the ones. The first one is derived from his first vowel, which is an A. Okay. He also had the dream of the number 1 that is derived from his his consonants of the letters P and L, which correspond to the numbers 7 and 3. Is 10, reduced down to the number 1. And now his first birth cycle of January is a 1. So there's 3 ones, which means that he has a very strong need to be his own individual, to really strike out and be very independent, but also to strive to be the best that he can be as well. So those 3 ones will be very dominant in his personality and in his character. Okay? Now, Paul was born on the 26th. That number reduced to the number 8. And in 1925, which reduced to 17, which reduced to yet another 8. So we now see another strong trait that's being revealed in the number 8. So let's review how the number 8 is influencing his life. So we want to combine his first earth tone, which is the letter P, that vibrates on the 7th level, with his first vowel, which is the A, that vibrates on the 1st level, and 1 plus 7 equals 8. His second birth cycle, he was born on the 26th. That is reduced to the number 8. And his third birth cycle, 1925, also reduces down to the number 8. So you see now he has 3 8s going across the board. So a very strong desire for fame and for wealth, very strong. And he also carried an 8 destiny, because when you add his birth month of January to his birthday and his birth year, is going to vibrate on the 8th level. So those are 3 very strong 8s, along with those 3 very strong 1s. Also, is revealing a personality that's very focused, very strong will, an individual that perhaps did not take no, because of the strong determination to be successful and to be wealthy, in which he was able to achieve those things in abundance. And his destiny is an 8 energy. So these 3 8s creates a strong desire for wealth and fame, along with his strong nature for independence. Having a personality with the willpower to achieve material wealth and lead a life of independence. So that's just what was self-evident in his personality and in his character. Now, he did have some spiritual undertones moving through him as well. Whether or not he acted on it is a whole different question. But his first earth tone vibrated on the 7th level, because the P is the 16th level, reduced down to number 7. And then you notice that he had 2 8s in his birth cycles. He's born on the 26th, which is the 8, 1925, which is the 8. Those 2 8s drop down to make a 16 that creates the number 7 energy. So he did have a spiritual side to his personality. Now, whether or not the society at large was able to recognize that aspect of him, probably not, because sometimes the seven energy can be very hidden. But people that was close to him, like family and friends, they will be able to speak on how his seven energy manifested in his life. Paul Newman was Jewish, but his mother was a Christian Science, and I think the father did practice um, in his religion. But as far as Paul Newman becoming a devout in some type of discipline later on in his life, he did become more devout in his spiritual practices, but it wasn't something that he really wore on his sleeve. Okay, but nevertheless, the seven energy is kind of running parallel to that strong one and that strong eight energy. But a one and an eight energy is an outward vibration, where a seven energy is a more inner vibration. So it may not have been uh, noticeable. Now, and this is where the reading takes a turn. Now, Paul Leonard Newman died on September the 26th, 2008, and his transitional numbers are the 9, the 8, and the 1, with a core transitional number of 9, derived from adding his three transitional numbers. The 9 is from September. He left his body on the same day that he came into the earth plane on the 26th, which is an 8, and then 2008, which is a 1 energy. But what you may want to observe is that his evolution of his consciousness, because he switched off the 1 energy for the 9 energy. He was born in January, but he left in September. That meant that he grew as an individual. He no longer had the strong yearning for the 1 energy that could be very selfish and only interested about what can he get out of life. He evolved in his consciousness because of the 9 energy, the willingness to recognize that there's other people in this world, and how can I be of benefit to other people. He left on the 26th, which is an 8 energy, which he now understood the true value of wealth was not to hoard the money just for myself, but to spread the money out so that others may have. And then he left in 2008. Now, two observations. You notice that the fourth sub element, which is an 8, and his second transitional number is an 8, because 2 plus 6 is 8. Those two 8s once again create a pattern of 16, which drops down to the number 7. So I'm sensing that he did have a very strong spiritual side to him. And he also was able to retain his individuality, but now it wasn't as important, because instead of it coming at the beginning of his life, he has now placed it right at the end of his transitional numbers, because his 208 is a 10 energy reduced down to a number 1. And then when you add the 9 and the 8 and the 1 together, it's going to bring you back to the number 9. And the 9 energy is a humanitarian, which is a big jump from that 1 energy. His destiny was an 8 energy, in which he initially set off in life to become a very wealthy man. But after he achieved his wealth, he understood that there's something that's empty inside of him, and he wanted to, uh, you know, leave leave a legacy of not so much of his acting or his successfulness as a race car driving, but the humanitarian aspect of Paul Newman. That's what makes this reading so interesting, because he evolved. And in life, you ought to evolve. You should not leave life the same way you came into life. So You may observe that the dominant personality of the number 1 now has moved to the end. Remember, January was the 1 energy, but he left in 208, which is a 1 energy. But now instead of it coming up front, it comes at the end. Okay, so, opposed to his first birth cycle number, which was January. He maintained his wealth of the number 8 because he left on the 26th and further reduced. As you saw, the fourth sub-element of 2008 was another 8, and these two 8s touched on the more subtle spiritual side of Paul, indicating by his earth tone of the letter P, which vibrates on the 7th level. So the 7 energy wasn't pronounced like the 1s and the 8s, but it was a very subtle vibration. Now, Paul's had a very strong 9 energy. And the 9 energy, once again, rules September. And his core transitional numbers, when you add his 3 transitional numbers, a 9, 8, and a 1, reveals a man who grew from a materialistic individual to answer the call of love for others, the humanitarian. Now, to give you an example of his growth as a humanitarian, Paul Newman and a friend founded Newman's Own, a line of food products whose proceeds are donated to charities after all taxes has been paid, along with many other philanthropist endowments. And I believe that as of this particular reading, Paul Newman's own company is donating over a $500 million to different types of charities. So he didn't take a profit from that company. He gave all the profits to different, charitable organizations, which is another indicator of a 9 energy, understanding the need to be of service to other individuals, and he used his wealth to that end. Now, he died at the age of 83. So once again, you can see how he was very strongly magnetized wealth because he left on an 8 energy. But the 3 energy is the kick started things for him because the acting allowed for the wealth. So he achieved his fame and his greatness as a star movie actor and a race car driver. He was a soul who came to know the true wealth is not found in material gain, but in helping others who may not be as fortunate. So because he left the 83, the 3 energy is his acting career that paved the way for his wealth, which is the number 8, and his age core number 2 revealed a man who could work with others. Now, I'm going to go to the whiteboard and I'm going to pull out the numerology of this lesson here, but I'm also going to share with you some additional information that might explain a little bit more clarity why his 2 vibrational energy, why he left on a 2 age cycle, because 8 plus 3 equals 11 reduced down to the number 2. And I think the reason for that will be found in the additional information that I'm going to share with you in the next video. So this is the lesson of Paul Leonard Newman. Rest in peace, my brother. And when I go to the whiteboard, I'm going to pull the numerology out with an additional information so that you can visually see how prominent the 5 energy was displayed in his life, and perhaps why he also left his body on a 2 age cycle. So until the next video, peace.